So are entrepreneurs born or are they made? For me, I think that they're especially made. Are they born? You know, I think that you see some people from almost birth and they're just risk takers. You know, if their parent tells them don't cross this line, they gotta dip a finger or a toe over that line. If their parent says don't dip your hand into the cookie jar, they're gonna put 2 hands into those. And some of those qualities of being a risk taker are important to being an entrepreneur, but they're really just a very small part of what it takes from day to day. So are people born entrepreneurs? I really don't think so. I really think that entrepreneurs are made. How are they made? Follow along and let's look at that next. Let's look at this and pretend like we're really trying to figure out something interesting. What do you think?
I think this is good.
Mm-hmm.
And international level.
Wow, like very professional.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a designer straight out of New York, Cebu City.
Yeah.
I agree. Very good. So Melanie and I are working together on some graphic design today. After Grace and I started Purple Cow Agency here in the Philippines, Melanie was our very first hire with us as a graphic designer. And her and I have worked together on all kinds of things over time, and I've really seen her evolve. But one of the things that always stands out to Melanie, to me, from the very beginning, is how much she really loves and cares about her family. And one of the first stories that I always tell people when I think about meeting Melanie when she was being interviewed by me for a job is I asked her, Melanie, why did you want a job at Purple Cow? And she said,
Yes, it's near our house.
because it's near our house. That's a pretty practical reason. But then there was another reason that actually kind of put me in tears. And what was that reason?
Yes, I want my mother to stop working.
That's right. So Melanie, when she was telling me why she wanted a job, used that old salesperson's trick of kind of like getting in there and telling an emotional story. I'm joking because it was very sincere, but her story was about how much she loved her mom and how her mom had worked for so many years and she just wanted to be able to make enough to be able to pay the bills so her mother wouldn't have to work so hard. And then I asked her, by the way, how old's your mom?
She's going on 44 this April.
And then I was emotional for another reason because I thought 44, I'm 47, almost 48. Why aren't my kids wanting to work so hard so I don't have to work anymore? If my kids are watching this, I hope you guys start working another 2 jobs, 3 jobs, so you can take care of dad and I don't have to work so hard anymore. One of the things though that I gotta say about Melanie is that we've seen her grown so much and really develop an entrepreneurial spirit, and I wanna share more of that with you in this episode. But first, we gotta go upstairs. So, I got Melanie here with Purple Cow, web designer extraordinaire, and she's here talking to us about her new business called Witchcraft. Don't worry, it's not that kind of witchcraft, but I was a little bit worried about the name at first. She's pretty sweet, it's okay. So Melanie, I have to ask, you were working full-time as a graphic designer with Purple Cow, you're putting in 40 hours a week, sometimes a bit more. What made you decide to start a side hustle business?
When I was still in college, I was already thought on business, but not really the business like the big business. Like whenever I have day offs or no class, I would help my mother in our small business like street foods. And even in high school or elementary, I was already open to that kind of business because I don't know, maybe I just grew up not depending on my parents. So yeah, and I'm very thankful because our situation, like we're not that rich and we're not that poor, we're just in the middle. We were taught to be resourceful. We were taught to be mag-start in Bisaya. What's yung siya mag-start?
He's a secret cameraman. He doesn't even talk.
Businessman din. Something like that.
So let me ask you this. So there was no concept here. How did you decide on this particular business?
So I want to help out my co-workers, Arvin, Manila over there, and Liz, because they helped me with the branding. I already posted this in the page, but I want to share with all of you how blessed I am with these people. Especially Arvin, he named Witch Crabs because I was asking him what name should I do, and he said, "What is your business?" And I said, "About crabs," something like that. And he said, "What about witch crabs?" I find it very interesting and unique that whenever a person is searching for a craft business or a shop and they see witch crabs, they will be very interested in the name. Because why witch crabs? This is about magic, and yeah, so I'll go with witch crabs.
So I think one of the things when it comes to being an entrepreneur, are they born that way? Are they made that way? Is it really comes down to habits. And I think one of the first habits of an entrepreneur is that they're willing to risk a little bit. One of the things that I love about Melanie is that, like me, she doesn't have any business background or very little. She didn't go to college for that. She has another career as a graphic designer, but she had a passion to grow, to make a bit more, to be able to support her family and be more independent. And so she just had the habit of starting, thinking through names, thinking through products, thinking through positioning her company in a way that would make people stand out. So like I said, when I first heard the name Witchcrafts, I thought, that's kind of a weird name. But when people ask me, why did you name a company Purple Cow? I have to say it's really for many of the same reasons that Melanie had. Who ever heard of a purple cow? Nobody. And so I wanted a name that would stand out from the crowd in the same way Melanie did. So first thing to being an entrepreneur is you need to develop the habit of thinking out loud, of branding yourself, of doing the type of things that business owners do, and then you'll be on a start to being a business owner yourself. Clap while I'm driving and turning in traffic. Thanks, secret cameraman. So when it comes to being an entrepreneur, one of the habits that's really important is taking educated risk. Taking risk just for the sake of risk isn't very smart. But when they're educated risks, when you've done the research, when you've talked to others that have similar experiences, when you've read helpful information and so on, then you could take risks that are based on knowledge. And you need to develop the habit of educating yourself and also having the courage to step out and take educated risks. I mentioned education as a habit that all entrepreneurs need to follow, and I can't overstress this one enough. I think we live during a time where people don't read books no more. They just like stuff in tiny, bite-sized chunks, and that's just not going to work very well in business. The more knowledge you have, the better job you're going to be able to do making wise decisions, and the more likely you're going to be successful. Do some people not do their research, not treat business as something that they need to continually be learning better at? Of course. Are some of those people successful? Yes. But it's this many of them that are successful. Most people fail. Don't be a wishful entrepreneur hoping that you're just going to get lucky without taking the time to learn what you need to learn. And when it comes to learning, there's two main ways that you need to learn. One is by doing self-study, reading everything you can, listening to podcasts, watching to useful YouTube channels, whatever it might be for your industry, reading trade magazines. There's a lot of great information out there. But the other thing is that you also need to be the kind of person that's learning from others' successes and others' failures. Why do you want to go through the hassle of making your own mistakes all of the time? It's far better to learn from what other people who've already been through those failures learn from those, so you don't have to repeat those mistakes. And secondly, learn from other people's successes. If you find people that are willing to mentor you, where you could ask questions and they've already been down the road that you want to go down and have made it, why not learn from their successes as well? So educate yourself, Make that a habit, and you'll be a successful entrepreneur. The final entrepreneurial habit that I want to talk about is iteration. Iteration is about looking at a concept and making fine tunes along the way, so you keep changing it in ways according to feedback. So for example, you might launch something in your business and you find that people just aren't buying. Or you might find that you launch something in your business and you find that people like everything about it, but there's always this one thing that they complain about or that they give you feedback that they wish was different. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to continually be iterating, you have to continually be fine-tuning things in order to be successful. Are you an entrepreneur? You are if you want to be. All you need to do is develop the habits that an entrepreneur would do, and there you go. You're gonna be an entrepreneur. As always, thank you for taking the time to listen, and take care. How's it going, guys?
I'm working.
Okay, Anthony. See you guys.
YouTube. Watch John Smulo and subscribe.